Endgame audio, what it is, what it sounds like, and my personal experience in getting to my endgame audio system. So an endgame audio system is a kind of a step in your journey of accumulating audio gear where you are completely satisfied with how the audio sounds and you are more enjoying the music rather than thinking about what gear to buy next or flaws with your current system or gear. And so when you get to a point where you have achieved an endgame system, it means that you kind of consider the sound coming from your system to be perfect. And that means that there's nothing in the spectrum, nothing about the system that really bothers you. And once you get to a point in high-end audio where you've listened to a lot of different systems, you kind of develop a certain pickiness about certain things in the audio spectrum. For example, my personal experience is every time I listen to some dynamic headphones, be it the HD 800S by Sennheiser or any other dynamic headphone, I kind of find that the vocals are a little bit grainy or maybe a little bit metallic. And that's something that I don't notice with my current electrostatic headphone system. And so for me, an endgame headphone system would have to be a system that doesn't have that graininess or metallic character in the vocals. The reason is that even if I hear just a little hint of that kind of character, it bothers me. It doesn't make me relax. It makes my brain kind of jump into like a critical mode where I'm more judging the music by its character rather than the musicality itself. And so I think it's very difficult, especially if you're a picky person, to get to an endgame system, because even the smallest, people will say compare one system to another by saying it's like 2% better or 5% better, but really that's kind of meaningless in the context of an audiophile or an endgame system, because that 2% or 5% difference may mean that you are annoyed versus not annoyed with the sound that's coming from the system. And so I want to kind of also debunk a common myth or a common misconception about high-end audio. I hear this a lot on the forums or discussions on the internet where people are saying that high-end audio systems are more revealing and therefore cause certain recordings to be less enjoyable. And I don't think that's the case at all in my personal experience. I think that an endgame system needs to be able to reproduce all recordings, all types of music well. And if you get to an endgame system where you feel like, oh, I can't listen to this type of music, or I can't really listen to this type of recording because it doesn't work, or it doesn't have much a synergy with my system, I think that's not really an endgame system in my personal experience. So I just want to give you guys an idea what an endgame system sounds like so that you have a better idea of what's possible. When I started this journey in audio gear, I never thought my current system was even technologically possible. I always thought that headphones or speakers would sound like you have headphones on your head or you have speakers playing. I never thought that sounds could actually be sounds that are reproduced can actually sound real in a way that your brain is fooled into thinking that it sounds real. And so I think that those of you who are starting off and just beginning or in the middle of your end game audio journey, if that's where you are even trying to get to, I think that you should have some hope, and that there's likely a system that will make you kind of completely satisfied, that you feel like is perfect for you in terms of your audio tastes. And so that's kind of a difficult thing to grasp nowadays, because the market out there, there's constantly new things that are being released, new headphones, new DACs, all sorts of different spatial audio and audio processing technologies that are coming out. But I think that if you kind of have even just one experience where you listen to something, a headphone system or a speaker system that really, clicks that button in your brain that you feel like, oh wow, this thing is like perfect. I think if you just have one of those experiences, it's gonna change your perspective in what you think is possible and what you really want out of your headphone system or speaker system. And so, in my personal experience, this might be kind of controversial, but I think that if you're just beginning your journey or in the middle of your journey and you're trying to figure out where should I spend my money for an endgame system, I would say that you should spend about 50% of your money on the headphone itself and about 30 to 35% on the amplifier, and only the remaining 20 or 15 to 20% you should spend on the DAC or the source. And I find that for right now I have my endgame system, and that's how I spent my money. I didn't spend it on a really expensive DAC, or I didn't spend it on cables. I think the main things that you should be spending your money on are the headphones and the amplifier. And preferably, your amplifier should cost about the same amount of money as your headphone. Because the amplifier actually does make a huge difference in terms of microdynamics and just your enjoyment of the music, in terms of distortion and that kind of thing. Because when you listen to music at a loud volume, or when you try to turn it up to a volume that you think sounds like it's live, with a poor amplifier, you'll definitely hear some artifacts and that kind of thing that will ruin your experience. And so, in a nutshell, this is just my kind of like a short idea video about an endgame audio system. I hope you find it helpful, and thanks for listening.